I get this question a lot, and the answer to it really depends on the person. So this question is, should I exchange information with my buyer at or after closing? And again, a lot of people kind of wrestle with this, and it really does depend on the person. Some people can exchange information with the buyer of a house they're selling and things work out quite well. They get along. Sometimes they even become friends after the closing and start a nice little relationship together. Other times, though, it doesn't work out so well, because what might happen is that as time moves on, the buyer keeps going back to the seller to ask them repeated questions about the house and kind of hold them responsible for the sale. And that's not something that you want to do, especially after the first 30 days or so, because sellers, you don't know how that buyer is going to treat that house. Maybe they don't quite treat it the way that you did, and things start to happen. So, do you want to be responsible or to feel obligated to that buyer after closing? And for most people, the answer is no. You sell the house, you give the buyer all the information that you possibly can for them to be successful with the purchase. And closing is a nice time for most people to just part ways right then and there. But if you are one of those sellers who wants to be extremely helpful and still involved with that house even after you've closed, that's fine. Just understand what it is that you're getting yourself into, because like I said, most sellers are moving on to a different home and they don't want to feel any obligation to the previous one. So, it's nice when we all get along during the transaction and have a happy closing. And if you want that relationship to continue, just proceed with caution, sellers, because you don't know how much that buyer is going to want to hold your feet to the fire, even for things that you have nothing to do with. So just be cautious when you do that and be careful. And buyers understand that if you have overzealous sellers who want to exchange information, sometimes it's to maintain some semblance of control over that house that they loved for so long. So just understand that this may not be something that you really want. Maybe temporarily you do, but on down the road it could become a problem. That's why it's my opinion as an agent that if there are questions that arise after the closing, that those topics and those questions be filtered through the agents so that we can have some closure and a parting of the ways between the buyer and seller, so each party can move on and not feel any awkwardness or sense of obligation to each other. But again, it just depends on the situation, because I have seen buyers and sellers become pretty good friends after the fact. But let's just use wisdom, exercise common sense and caution, so that closing is a wonderful time where buyers and sellers get together and chat and everybody can move on about their normal life afterward without constant awkwardness or feelings of obligation to something that you're done with and now it's time for the new buyer to handle. If you have questions about this topic or anything else real estate related, please feel free to reach out to me by phone, text, email, private message. And if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe. Thanks, bye.